This is the country of the eternal spring. So we will very glad to have you here. And I think there's a lot of tangible opportunities to start off with it. So it would be great to have more foreigners here helping.
Welcome to the Borderless Podcast, your guide to traveling, investing, and living beyond borders, where we talk about living the life that you want to live, where you want to live it. From beautiful San Miguel de Allende, smack in the middle of Mexico, with your hosts, Jonathan Lockwood and James Guzman.
Welcome to the Borderless Podcast, traveling, investing, and living beyond borders. This is that podcast where we talk about living internationally, having location-independent businesses, being an entrepreneur, more self-reliant, stuff like that. My name is Jonathan Lockwood. I'm here with James Guzman. Hey, James.
Hey, how's it going?
So I told you, as a former radio guy, that you cannot trust any weather forecast beyond 2 or 3 days.
It's true. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Everybody here has been saying that straight through the 25th of this month, it would be nothing but rain and gloom. And I said, look, it might be, but don't trust the weather report.
Yeah.
And sure enough, it's been beautiful ever since, it's been really nice. So I've been
one of the few jobs that you can just tell lies day after day and you still have a job.
Or better yet, pretend like you know what you're talking about, for sure. Right. When the reality is stuff changes. It's beautiful here in San Miguel de Allende right now. So, James, you are going someplace here later this week, right? When are you leaving?
I'm leaving on Monday.
And what is this event?
It is it's an entrepreneurship summit put on by MIT, and it's down in Guatemala City. Has a lot of big names. I ran across it. I saw a post that Magat Wei, her she posted something about it, and I looked and said, "Wow, there's a lot of really interesting people going there." I said, well, I got to take part in this. So I contacted them over there. And I'm really excited about going here on Monday.
Yeah. So in line with that, we have the person who I guess brought this MIT Global Startup Workshop is what it's called. And for more information on that, if you just go to mitgsw.org, you can find out about this. But the person who I guess is responsible for helping bring this event to Guatemala, her name is Rocio Pinto. Welcome, Rocio Pinto, to the Borderless Podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure.
I'm going to go over your bio here. It says Rocio has more than 10 years of experience as a consultant for business corporations. And in the last 5 years, she specialized in the business modeling field to help startups and corporations design and execute innovative and disruptive models for their products and services. She's currently the director of Heuristica, a program that seeks to promote entrepreneurship as a way to give a leap to development in Guatemala. She has created this program as a sustainable business that is based at the campus of Francisco Marroquin University. She's very active in fostering the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Guatemala and in the region. We're going to talk about that. She worked at TECO, an energy-related company, as a negotiator for the fuel contracts. She was also part of KPMG Advisory Team, an international consultant firm. She's part of the UP Global community for entrepreneurs as a local organizer for the Startup Weekend and other different events that promote entrepreneurship. And she led the process of bringing MIT GSW, that is the Global Startup Workshop, to the country, one of the most renowned entrepreneur workshop around the globe. Again, thank you for being with us, Rocio.
Thank you.
So let's first talk a little bit about you. Are you from Guatemala, Rocio?
Yeah, that's right. I was born here, but my parents are both from Spain. So I was raised here in Guatemala, and I love the country, but I've been exposed to like half of my life to Spain also. So I'm a bit Guatemalan and Spaniard.
Got you. And so your bio says that you've got 10 years of experience as a consultant for businesses. And so why don't you talk about this? How do you suppose you found your way into that field?
Well, I was working at TECO, like my bio said. That's an energy company which is based in Florida, but they have their offices here in Guatemala where they have a power plant. And I was doing the coal negotiations, and we bring the coal to Guatemala, and we have to go to the mines in Colombia, and it was a very nice and adventurous work. I was like sort of a broker there, and while I was doing that, I was also in my MBA doing the minor in entrepreneurship. And when I was in a flight to Tulane, I run into the Giancarlo Ibargüen, which was the former president of UFM. And we were speaking about the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Guatemala and what my plans for the future were. And I was very excited to start some new businesses. I told him that I was very excited to do new ventures and start a business and become an entrepreneur. And he was planning on to start a project that could bring more entrepreneurs to UFM. And they were planning on starting a business incubator. So that was a short story. But after a month, I was in UFM, starting this new process of bringing entrepreneurs to the campus and starting a new program. And after some evaluations of this, I started the heuristics programs here, right? I was also on the side working with a lot of entrepreneurs starting businesses and doing some business consultancy. Now I have 4 years of helping startups launch their new businesses and their new ventures. And it has been a very nice journey, very exciting.
Well, let me ask you this. With reference to Guatemala, a lot of people probably don't know about the country very much, maybe. With reference to Guatemala, would you say that you feel that there is a really good reason to promote entrepreneurship in that country?
Well, yes, of course. I think Guatemala is a good place for entrepreneurs. And why I say this is that the most interesting part is that we're still a poor country, right? And therefore, we're open to great opportunities to come. Here you can develop new businesses because there are still a lot of problems to solve. And that is exactly what an entrepreneur do. They create solutions and solve problems with their products and services. So it's a way to understand that when you have a field where you can solve a lot of problems that are still being unsolved here, you have a lot of opportunities and you have a wide canvas to start. So I think Guatemala, it's a good place for entrepreneurs. I would say that if you're an entrepreneur or a venture capitalist, it is much better to seek for the low-hanging opportunities in Guatemala because there are better ways to address some problems that are already here. And with simple solutions, you can become a great entrepreneur here.
Great. And you started the it's Heuristica, is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, Heuristica in Spanish, heuristics in English. That was a program that we started because we wanted to foster entrepreneurship in Guatemala. And we thought, after analyzing the market here, we saw an opportunity because, as you can see in the process of becoming an entrepreneur in the States, for example, people go out of their houses at 18 and they started to do a lot of entrepreneurial things to make their life work. And since in Guatemala we have a different culture, our people, they spend more years in their fathers' houses. And we have a lot of entrepreneurial people, but the culture is different. We are exposed to a very strong sense of failure and that it's not well received, and so the entrepreneurs get scared. So we thought we might create a program which will be the support system for entrepreneurs that want to begin to do some things and they don't want to become the failures of their families or whatever, but they can try in a safe place. And that would strengthen the culture of entrepreneurship here in Guatemala. And that's what we create. We create a program, an entrepreneurial training of 12 weeks in which you can start with an idea, and after 12 weeks, you will have your MVP, right? And you can start testing this MVP and seeing if the market receives it well and if it's a relevant problem that you're solving in the society or in the world. And we have had 175 people that have gone through our process. And we also have a very small network of investors here in Guatemala that are waiting for our pipeline of projects to be presented to them. And after these 175 people, only 41 get to the final phase. But 10 of these 45 have received funds. And with these 10 projects, we have created more than 120 employees here in Guatemala. So I think that's a very nice story to tell. We're just beginning with this project, and we are hoping to grow it more. But it has been a very nice experience. And I think that the funniest part is that a lot of different organizations have started to do similar things as Heuristica. So we are growing the ecosystem, and that's a very positive thing for the country, right?
Absolutely. I want to make sure everybody, when we talk about Guatemala here, we're talking about a population, I believe, of something like 15 to 16 million.
Correct.
Right down. It's actually not terribly far from where we are now. You're right down south of Mexico. You sort of border Mexico, right? And Belize?
Correct.
Right. And so you talked about why this Heuristica is helping people sort of spread their entrepreneurial wings. You said in a safe place. Why is it a safe place?
Well, because here you are in a program where you have 10 or 15 other entrepreneurs doing the same that you're doing, right? They're starting, they're testing, they're trying, they're failing. So it's like a natural thing for any participant to have a failure. If you try to start a new business and you fail alone, because I think that the entrepreneurial road is it's a lonely way, right? You do your things, and if you fail, you're alone. And so I think this is a very nice support system for every entrepreneur if they want to start doing something and they can fail in a nice way. And there's another group of people who can help you throughout the process. So that's why I use the word safe, right? But it's not that you're gonna have people who help you to not fail, or because the market will tell you if you're doing it right or not. We don't interfere there, but you have other participants, other entrepreneurs in the same journey, and you feel like more comfortable doing this. That's our belief.
Yeah, that's really great what you're doing there, and I think a lot of people have this idea of when you start a business or do something entrepreneurial, you're gonna do it all your own, and you're gonna spearhead this thing and like the lone wolf going against everybody else. But it's not really how it works. So you need help from everybody. Nobody can be a master of all the different skills that you need to do, and you need to have that support system there. So that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in addition to trying to sort of cultivate entrepreneurs as part of this Heuristica program, what about people who maybe had never thought of Guatemala before? Are there good reasons to think that that's a good place to go? The Borderless podcast, people have always got their eyes and ears open, Rocio. And by the way, we're talking to Rocio Pinto, business model strategist, director of Heuristico, and also with the MIT Global Startup Workshop on the Borderless podcast. Anyway, they hear some of them go to Asia. Some of them are going to, Indonesia, or maybe they're going to, different parts of Asia, Thailand. Maybe they're going down to South America, to Chile, Argentina, Brazil, some of these places. Some of them come to Mexico. They're always got their eyes and ears open. So now we're talking about Guatemala. In my experience so far in focusing on this in the last few years, this isn't one of the countries that we hear come up most often. Are there some good reasons why Guatemala is a great place for entrepreneurs not from Guatemala to go?
I think one of our best resources is that we are ranked as a first in mobile network coverage. And I think it's according to the World Economic Forum. Guatemalan developers and programmers and entrepreneurs are creating like very nice businesses around this, the mobile network and the mobile market. And I think these businesses are transcending our frontiers right now, with innovative ideas. And like I said before, the most interesting thing is that we still have a lot coming because there are still a lot of things to do. Geographically, we're very strategically positioned. We have access to 2 oceans. And our time zone is EST also. So that puts us in a very strategic position from import, export, outsourcing. And we're called the country of the eternal spring because we have this extraordinary weather that you can feel spring almost along the year. And of course, the last thing I mentioned, but it's one of the most important, is that you have a very nice talented people here, outgoing, hardworking people, and human capital is one of the most important resources. And also the opportunities in the tech field, I see they're a very important opportunity for the region since we are in the middle of the north part of America and the south part. So it's like we are the bridge, right?
Well, okay, there's some decent reasons right there. I imagine, one reason too is the cost of living in Guatemala is quite a bit lower than many places in the world. But can you talk to us a little bit about one of the things that people look at when they look at relocating, Rocio, is, well, what exactly is the climate for entrepreneurs as it relates to the government? Mm-hmm. Is the government welcoming to entrepreneurs? Is it punishing? Would you like to see it be better than it is? What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, yeah, well, as many of the countries around our region in Central America, you have to take care of that part. I would say the political panorama that you have as an entrepreneur here, it's not easy. There's a lot of legal stuff that you have to get done, fiscal things that you have to be very wise to take care of in order to succeed. But that's one of the things that I recommend when someone is coming to Guatemala to do some business, right? That you have to get to know the local leaders of your industry, and in order to learn more about how the ins and outs of the industry, will be, and also a local advisor or a legal and fiscal and in legal or fiscal matters, right? So, but I don't see that as a reason not to come. In every country, there's some things that you have to learn before you go, because that's important to get your things done there. In security, it's a thing that almost all people talk, right? And I think it's very important to mention, and I think this is true also. But as a country that we have been biased by the war on the drugs, and our country fights daily against corruption, it's important to mention that we are doing great, right? There's people that live here, and it's not that insecure. The press takes care on making it bigger, and it's a New York during the 70s have also problems on security, and that was not a huge issue. So
sure. We deal with that all the time ourselves, Rocio. The prevailing views, for instance, of Mexico, where James and I live right now, are just not in line with reality. So we understand that. I guess I was a little bit more interested in finding out, is the government, would you like to see the government make bigger strides toward making it easier for people to start and operate businesses?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, of course. That's another thing I wanted to mention, that we are seeing a lot of new things led by the government to start new businesses. They have a lot of programs right now. One is called What Te Emprende, which is led by some private organizations, but they are in hand with the government also. And they are giving funds to start new ventures. They are giving some spaces for entrepreneurs to start, like co-working spaces also. There's the first one in the center of the city, and it's open and available for any person that want to start a business. So they have started a few initiatives to promote and foster the entrepreneurship here. I don't know if that's more of what you wanted to. Yeah. Thank
you for that. We're talking with Rocio Pinto, business model strategist, director of Heuristica, and an ambassador of the MIT Global Startup Workshop, which we want to talk about in a little bit. But we want to take just a moment to remind our Borderless podcast listeners, first of all, thank you very much for reaching out and telling us you're enjoying the podcast and getting something out of it. But also, we could use your help. First of all, go to borderlesspodcast.com, click on the Join Now button. If you click on the Join Now button, what happens, James?
They will receive an ebook that'll help them get started living a borderless lifestyle, and then they can also get on the private Borderless network that we have. It's a private Facebook group where there's all kinds of people from all over the world that can help you get started.
Occasionally, James and I will listen back to a podcast and realize, whoops, would have been good to have asked this question. So, we're open to your suggestions here. If at the end of this podcast you think we should have gone down another path or something wasn't explored, you get in there and you start talking about it, and we'll start having this conversation.
If you got some guests that you would like to suggest or send over.
Absolutely. So go to borderlesspodcast.com, click on Join Now, and this will open up these things for you. Also, if you would, go to iTunes, find our podcast there, subscribe to it, but rate and review it too. That's very helpful. That helps us out a lot. More people will find us that way. Today's Borderless podcast is brought to you by the Condescending Group. As we find ourselves near the beginning of a whole new year, the Condescending Group encourages you to appreciate the special place we morally superior folks have in society. It's not that we think we're better than everyone else. It's just that we're vastly more intelligent and care more than everyone else. And we just think it would be good for you to take some time out and truly revel in the warm feelings of saintly preeminence. It's true that others encourage discussion of the world's important issues, and while that might seem proper, we recognize that it's just a waste of time, coming from those who are genetically stupid and honestly beneath us. So we suggest you stamp out discussion and debate with those who disagree with us in our altruistic hierarchy. When faced with a challenge, a simple condescending and sarcastic comment is all you need. Go to thecondescendinggroup.com. The Condescending Group. We care more than you. Okay, so we're back. Rocio Pinto, business model strategist. We want to talk a little bit. The reason we found Rocio James found Rocio is because James is going to go to this MIT Global Startup Workshop. And how was it that this came about in Guatemala, Rocio?
Doing a long story short, I attend GSW, I think 3 years ago, that was hosted in Istanbul. And so when I went there and I saw what they were doing with the entrepreneurial ecosystem in that country, and I saw the content of the conference itself, I thought this had to happen in Guatemala. And since I was working on the entrepreneurship field, and I thought, I experienced the conference was one of the most, renowned conference and the premier workshop dedicating to fostering entrepreneurship. I came back and told the president here that we had to do this, and we had to bring MIT to Guatemala. We approached them, and they told us that they were very selective in choosing their countries in which they held the conference, because one of their promises to their participants was that the conference has to happen in a very spectacular country, right? Because that's like the reason why people remember where they were and what they do is because they felt amazing in the place. So I was like, okay, I think we can take care of that. We have a very nice places in Guatemala to show the participants of the MIT, and so I started the process of the bidding process, because that's a very large and complicated process to get into a line to be the hosts for this event. And after several meetings, when they saw the country and what UFM has to offer, because I think it's a very important to mention that UFM has a strong proposal for them. So when we showed them what we have to offer, they agree on us to be the next hostess, and we won the hosting for 2015. And that was, our first reaction was to be very happy, but afterwards we were like very, we were scared, because this was a huge event, and there's a lot of people from around the world coming to the event, and there's a lot of logistical things that is important to have ready for the conference. But we're very happy to foster this year, the MIT. Like I said, I would say is the world premier's workshop dedicated to the entrepreneurship and building the ecosystem globally. The conference has been hosted in 18 locations or 19 locations before. And each year they have like 300 entrepreneurs, leaders, right, from around the world, executives, entrepreneurs, professors, financiers, government and agents, and private supporters also that come to the event. And the dynamic, it's very nice. You have panels, keynotes, and the objective is that to learn, to network, to build connections, and to do startups. A lot of businesses start in the MIT GSW. So we're very happy to host this year.
Yeah, speaking of all of the people coming in from around the country, I'm just looking at the website of your speakers alone, not simply people coming, but actually the speakers. It appears to be 50 or more people you have coming in. And James mentioned our friend Magat Wade. I don't know if her husband, Michael Strong, is coming or not. She's always great to listen to, a lot of great insights. Mark Skousen is going to be there as well. And James and I just cut a documentary not long ago in which Tim Draper was featured rather prominently. He's going to be there. And I bet a lot of these other people are just brilliant people I just haven't been introduced to yet. But you got a lot of great people coming in for this event.
Yeah, that has been a very nice journey also. There's a lot of people from the UFM network, and they were very happy to come back to UFM. James will tell you, and I invite you to come as well, because whenever someone comes here and see what we have here in the center of the city, the comment is that they don't believe that in Guatemala we have a university like this. And so it was very nice when we invite the people to come. They were very excited to come again to UFM. And of course, with the MIT here, and all these people gather, it would be an amazing experience.
Yeah, would you mind going through some of the speeches or the talks? Do you know some of the topics that might be covered?
Well, yeah, we are going to have different panels. The first one, and one of the most important, is the Foster Entrepreneurship, where the panelists are going to explore their experiences in starting their own ventures and sharing how they did and how they did well and how they did not, and why it's important to be inspired and to become an entrepreneur if you want to become an entrepreneur. We are going to cover the social entrepreneurship field also, with a panel that will focus on the differentiations of being a social entrepreneur and being an altruist, right, which is very different. And a lot of other panels are going to go through the tech part. We will also have people from different incubators and programs around the world that are going to share also experiences on how entrepreneurship has changed the way the countries are right now because of the entrepreneurship that has happened. And there are also panels of like innovating finance. That it's going to be another panel, very interesting panel, where they are going to share different sources of financing for entrepreneurs and how you can get access to those finance sources. And of course, the networking would be amazing. That's one of the most important parts of the events, right? The networking part, where you have time to have some drinks or just have some dinner or a cocktail with the different people that you will want to get to know.
You're listening to the Borderless Podcast. We're talking with Rocio Pinto. She is with the MIT GSW, that stands for Global Startup Workshop. It is March 25th through the 27th there in Guatemala. And we're talking about, among other things, why Guatemala might be a great place for an entrepreneur to go to. But another, they're having this great, huge, one of the most renowned entrepreneurship workshops in the globe featured there. And so there's a lot of great people coming in. It's a great opportunity to, if you're interested in entrepreneurship and building it and networking, it sounds like an absolutely fantastic event. James Guzman is going, aren't you, James?
I am, yeah. I'm really excited about it. It sounds, it's going to be a lot of great people there, and I'm looking forward to meeting Rocio and the rest of the people that are doing this great stuff down there. So right now, as far as entrepreneurship goes, I know you believe that, that's the way that we can address a lot of different problems that we have. Can you give us some specific opportunities that you think would be good that people need to address down there?
Well, the first that come to my mind is in the tech side, right? I think that in any technological application or mobile application or what you can build to the mobile side, it's a very nice opportunity. Like I mentioned before, Guatemala ranks first in mobile network coverage, so that's a huge opportunity here. And also because the life costs here are lower, so you can imagine that building here an application or some technological thing can be very interesting. The other thing I would say is that we have a lot of social problems that can be solved in an entrepreneurial way. Just to mention one, for example, the last year we made a boot camp for focused on social entrepreneurship, and it was specifically focused on the malnutrition part. And so what we decided to do is to analyze the situation of the country in terms of the causes or the main reasons why we have malnutrition. And we saw a lot of opportunities, like, for example, solving the trash problems here in an entrepreneurial way, or solving the water problems that could be solved by engineering, and some develop more ideas on how to do a very nice and good way to provide clean water to people. Or so there are a lot of, like I said, low-hanging opportunities that you could solve that, and it would be interesting to come to Guatemala to work on with. But the technological side is like it's the most popular right now. A lot of people are working on developing applications or technological businesses.
Yeah, I love that. Sounds like you had a lot of really good stuff going on. I like to hear people that are actually trying to solve these type of problems, not in an emotional way, not trying to get everybody riled up about something or have some sort of a solution that is not effective. Just get in there and actually put your heads together and try to figure out how to solve some of these social problems just, yourself, So I think that's the only way that this kind of stuff will get addressed.
I was looking at some of the panels that are scheduled. One of them, I was trying to figure out what it was about. It says designing under $1. Can you help us understand what that's about?
Oh, yeah. That's a very nice one. It's focused on products that could be designed and sell for under $1, for the market that lives under $1 a day. And I think that's a very interesting topic for the region, because we have a lot of people, and our reality fights with that every day. And so there's going to be, I think, a lot of entrepreneurs that have done products or services that serve that market, and their business model have to be very different. So they're going to share their stories on how they did it and how they affect those markets.
All right. We have one question that we like to ask all of the guests that come on the Borderless podcast, and I think that you probably have a lot to talk about this. So, it doesn't have to be one piece of advice, but what are some of the best pieces of advice that you would give to somebody who's thinking about starting their own business, or maybe going to Guatemala, living an international lifestyle, something like that? What's the best advice you would give them?
Firstly, when an entrepreneur comes to my office and we start talking about what they want to build, the most common thing I see is that they have this bunch of ideas in their mind. The first thing that I ask them to do is land this on a business model canvas. Grab a business model canvas and land this and make it clear for you what is the value that you're creating to the market. What is the problem that you're solving? Be very hard on yourself if the problem or the need you're addressing is relevant to the market. And after having this clear, the second thing I do is go try, because you're making a lot of hypotheses when you're an entrepreneur, and you're saying that there's you're creating this product that it's going to be for that customer segment, and you have to try if that's correct, if that's true. And after having data on what you're or testing what you're believing you're doing, you start like this process where you build, you measure, you learn, you build, you measure, you learn. That's like a lean startup methodology, right? You can start to go forward on your project, and that will give you a lot of credibility, and that will give you a lot of confidence in going forward. So I would say sketch something in a business model canvas, try your hypothesis in the market, and be very, very observative in what your customer tells you about. Your customer is the one that is going to tell you everything about your business. It's easy to say, I know, it's complicated to do, but if you are not willing to do that first part of the business, maybe it's not your call.
You have a fine future as a government bureaucrat, let's say, if you're not willing to do those things. So we've been talking with Rocio Pinto. She's with the MIT Global Startup Workshop. And this is an event coming up March 25th through the 27th. Sounds very exciting. She's all about entrepreneurship, and she's been talking a lot about Guatemala, about entrepreneurship in general, about why Guatemala might be a great place and why it's certainly a great place March 25th through the 27th during this great conference. Thank you very much for joining us, Rocio Pinto.
Thank you for having me. It was amazing to share with you a little bit about Guatemala. Like I said, I hope to see you both here and had the chance to talk to you. And for all entrepreneurs that are listening, this is the country of the eternal spring. So we will very glad to have you here. And I think there's a lot of tangible opportunities to start off with it. So it would be great to have more foreigners here helping.
Okay, thank you so much, Rocio.
So that was great. I really like talking to people like Rocio, and I love to see people out there that are, bringing some real solutions to problems. Like I was trying to say during the interview, normally what you get, when you have these types of social problems or whatever, you get just people whining about it, trying to, pull emotional strings. Oh, we need to, some stupid government solution that never works out right. So, just get people together, get them the tools they need, and, let's get to work on it. How are we going to do this, And
Rocio, we really didn't know Rocio very much before this. We Googled and tried to get bios and stuff on her. We saw just gorgeous young woman, and we thought, well, what is this about? Is she going to be, she was kind of concerned because English is not her first language. And what a great job she did.
Yeah,
just absolutely fantastic
very sharp
job. So she held up very well, speaking in another language, and again, she's obviously, she knows her stuff about entrepreneurship. She wasn't just hawking this event,
right?
She could just continue to speak at length about the subject of entrepreneurship in general.
Yeah, absolutely. So it should be a lot of very interesting people down there. I'm looking forward to going, and I think it's going to make some really good contacts down there.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So, borderlesspodcast.com. Go to it, please. Click on Join Now. You'll get access to our Facebook page. You can talk about our podcasts. Tell us how much you like them or how much they suck, if you think that. Whatever it is that you want to do, go to iTunes, rate it, review it, subscribe to it, and we'll thank you if you do. Yeah,
and do subscribe, because the next one will be on this new e-residency program, which is very interesting. A lot of people are interested in that, and we have one of the people that's kind of spearheading that down there, so he knows all about it.
For sure. So, another Borderless podcast coming up soon.
Thanks for joining us for the Borderless Podcast, traveling, investing, and living beyond borders.